arms, pain, kiss and hug. I even had to attend therapy to rebuild my life. As a parent, I have watched my daughter struggle with what happened. My daughter Chelsea and her boyfriend George will always have to live with the images of how they found Mason's dead in his bed and how they performed CPR on a child that was already gone. My daughter Caitlin has never hold her oldest child again and has suffered having her younger son taken from her because of Kenneth Stahli. She has been persecuted in the press and social media for something Kenneth did. She will have to live with the pain of knowing that she brought this monster into her and her children's life. I wish I could just see her happy again. Jackson, Mason's younger brother, will never have his older brother in his life to look up to and to protect him. We do not know how learning Mason's death will affect him in the future. Everyone in our family has been affected by Mason's loss. We never expect something like this to happen, especially when the perpetrator is someone we thought we could trust. We have all had our images of people punished by the actions of this evil monster. How could someone hurt and kill a princess 2-year-old? I will never understand why Kenneth didn't just walk away and
with the court permission, I would like to recant as follows. On August 6, 2014, my life was changed in the worst possible way. I received the phone call that every loving parent fears. My baby was dead. There is a hole in me that will never be filled. As this process has gone on, I have heard things that happened to Mason that most parents couldn't imagine in their worst nightmares. My happy, gaping little boy was filled with so much love. Now he's laying in a tiny casket in the ground. This was an accident. He was beaten and tortured to death by an innocent toddler. I haven't slept a full night since Mason's passed. I go to bed praying he'll come to me in a dream because that's all I have left. Memories and dreams. I've been told it will get better with time, but I can't see that happening. It's only gotten worse so far. Mason loved me. I can remember hearing him dancing around upstairs and laughing so hard when I was on the radio. He loved everyone. His smile, his laugh. He was nothing but happy every single day of his life from the moment he woke up. He would jump on his bike and ride into the living room, jump on me, jump on the couch, so full of energy. At night, he would pull from all his pillows and blankets on his bed, lay them on the floor, and grab me to lay down and cuddle with him. We would watch Cars on his Mickey Mouse TV. When I was going through a tough time or having a hard day, it was like he knew. He would come up to me on the couch and pull me by the finger onto his shoulder. He pushed me to get down on the floor and play blocks and cards and the rest of it. Everything that was wrong or upsetting me would go away because of Mason. I hope Jackson Close can thank God every day for his surviving. He was being abused 2 and 8 months old, also at the hands of Kenneth Stahli. We won't know the full emotional impact this has on him until after some time with a therapist, but he has grown up without his big brother. You will grow up seeing pictures and knowing everyone is sad but not holding any memories of Mason. I have to live with the reality that I will never hear Mason's laugh again. I won't get to kiss him goodnight or kiss a movie to make it better. There won't be a first day of kindergarten or a high school graduation. He won't have a first car, a first love, a first kiss. And I won't be able to talk with him through his first heartbreak. Mason was 2 when he passed, but it's not just the 2-year-old Mason that's born. Everything he could have been is born. We have been a doctor, a teacher, a fireman, maybe even a DJ. We'll never know. My family is suffering every day. We're all heartbroken. The younger ones that don't understand still ask me. His cousins ask, why is May in the class? We want to know when they can go visit him. Imagine trying to explain to them it's gut-wrenching. They're all there for me as much as they can be, but when it's quiet, everyone's asleep, and the internet has died down, I'm left with my own thoughts without distraction. I think of the horrible things Mason went through. Hearing that Mason asked for me to be leading up to his death destroyed me. I think about the last memory I had with my son. I was holding his hand, standing over him in his casket. I promised him justice and asked him to look over Jackson. I promised him that Jackson would know what a hero he was. I could hear him saying, "Buzz, Buzz," as I placed one of his favorite toys, his Buzz Lightyear, in his left hand. In Mason's right hand, I put his favorite truck, Vader. I remembered how he brought that truck to me every day to fix the tow hinge on the back. I'd always tell him, "You have to be easy, man." Then I took off my hat and laid it in his casket with him. Mason stole that hat off my head every day as we played. I gave him one final kiss on his head and said, "I love you." I will never get to feel my son's hand or kiss his forehead again. I will never understand how or why someone could or would do this to my son. Male, female, children, or adults, Mason loved everyone and was afraid of no one. No one to attend. And he didn't just take my son from me. He took away a piece of my heart forever. My afternoons, nights, Sunday dinners, and holidays are just reminders of what Mason and I used to enjoy together. Please give Kenneth Stahli the maximum sentence for murdering my son. This person savagely beat my baby. Didn't care what damage he caused. He beat Mason until his whole body was no longer hold on. My son suffered privately when he was 2 years old. He wanted his daddy and assisted, and instead he was hit more. This person took my beautiful boy away from me forever. I will not refer to him as a man because a real man could never hurt an innocent child, let alone kill him. And his family will still be able to visit with him and speak to him for the rest of his life. There is no more rest of his life for Mason. I have to visit my son at a cemetery. I can speak to him, but there is just silence in return, a hole that will never be filled. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Your Honor, next, wish to hold.
Forever changed the lives of myself, his father, and Jackson. He's forever changed the lives of your own son, Jace. There's a heart-wrenching video of Jace telling investigators what he not only witnessed his own father doing to Mason, but also how he was threatened to keep quiet. The jurors might not have gotten the ability to see the horrific evidence, but Jace must remember this for the rest of his life. His own daddy, Judge Halcombe, in a trial for a 2-year-old's murder, had said, as a community, we have to do some deep soul searching about how or if we would have responded sooner. Might there have been intervention that could have saved this child's life? This judge's words remain instilled in my heart daily. There are many people that could have changed the outcome, myself included. I have constant remind lies and excuses. And for that, I am entirely at fault for it. In the months following the murder of my son, I have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. I have nightmares and visions of what Mason was put through. And I also have flashbacks of the days leading up to his demise. I now have a constant reminder of my son saying, "No bye-byes, no bye-byes," which now I know is painful reasoning behind his cries. not only have taken Mason from me, you have taken the first years of Jackson's life from me as well. You have ruined so many lives, tore families apart, taken so much from so many different people. Mason will never get a chance to start preschool, graduate, get married, nor enjoy growing up alongside his younger brother. We will never get to enjoy holidays with him, never hear or see his contagious laughter or smile. Nothing. You took that from him. You took that from us. You took a lifetime of memories, a lifetime of happiness. I asked the court to reflect on the word torture when considering your sentence, because that is what you put Mason through. Torture. I ask that you be put away the max sentence possible, knowing any sentence would not ever be enough. You took the life of a bright, beautiful, full of life child that had the ability to light up the entire room. You took my child. Mason is the bravest and strongest person I will ever know. He was a man at the young age of 2 years old. And that is something you will never beat him. You are a coward, and I hope every day is a constant reminder of what you have done. I wish you the pain that Mason endured, and the nightmare you have left us all to live. Although you will never care what I have to say, your tattoo said the best. Only God can judge me, and I assure you, God is judging me. Mason today will receive his judgment, but nothing can bring me back.
Before you this morning stands Kenneth Stahli to be sentenced for his conviction of murder in 73. We view Mr. Stahli basically as an unemployed heroin addict with been training on vulnerable women. He has 4 children under the age of 5 years old, 3 different mothers, none of whom he has ever supported. And I can honestly say that in my 38 years in the criminal justice community here in Ulster County, this is as heinous a crime as I've ever witnessed. In the course of an investigation like this, we first learned about the injuries that the victim suffered. I can tell you, Your Honor, on top of those injuries, when we learned that Mason had heroin in his system, it was as if someone took the air out of him. We feel that Mr. Stahli has forfeited the right to ever again live as a free man. And we ask the court to impose the maximum sentence of incarceration that's allowed by law. We have 2 other requests. We recommend that you consider, Your Honor, imposing a fine under Section 181C of $25,000. Under that provision of the penal law, any asset that Stahli has now or hereafter acquires will be collected by the state comptroller and deposited into the New York State Alcohol and Substance Abuse Rehabilitation Fund. And lastly, Your Honor, we request that you sign 3 orders of protection, 1 on behalf of Mr. Cosmo and Jackson, 1 on behalf of Kate Wolford, and 1 on behalf of this minor. Thank you.
That's Michelle Lang.
Yes.
Any further? Yes, John.
Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Stahli stands before you. As the court is well aware, our office remains in tremendous gratitude and appreciation of the jury's service. The jury listened very carefully to the evidence, Your Honor, and we certainly respect and appreciate the verdict. With that said, however, Your Honor, there was only one charge that was submitted to the jury. That was a routine charge. There were no lesser included. The jury was precluded from considering any lesser offenses.
Why was that?
That was the DA's discretion, Your Honor.
Okay.
Additionally, Your Honor, certainly the gravity of this tragedy cannot be understated or overstated. Mr. Stahli remains incredibly heartbroken. I do have a statement that I would like to read from him. But I think
He is not making a statement?
He is not, Your Honor, and there is...
Why is that?
I have documentation
That's
from the
his
jail.
right. Why is that?
I have documentation from the jail as well as what's reflected in the PSI that Mr. Stahli has been diagnosed with personality disorders and mental health disorders, which impact his ability to effectively articulate himself, particularly under stressful situations such as the one.
What are the other mental disorders that he suffers?
ADHD, dissociative personality
How
disorder.
many people that appear before me have these disorders?
How many people, Your Honor, are under the stress of this particular proceeding? Not many, Your Honor.
And who put himself in this stress?
Your Honor, I believe that the evidence that was adduced here, Your Honor was here, I was here, there's never going to be perfect justice in this case. Certainly nothing is going to bring
You're
to
saying
that.
this defendant didn't receive a fair trial?
He certainly received a fair trial, Your Honor, but there were people that could have helped the case and that did not. And there was evidence that was adduced in the trial against Mr. Stahli that, although Ms. Wilford was not on trial, the evidence that was adduced here, I submit to Your Honor, was sufficient to convict her of criminally negligent homicide.
All right, hold on right now, folks. Time out. Each of you that are in this courtroom have a right to be in this courtroom, but only with my permission. Let's get something straight now. I understand and appreciate the emotions that are flying at this moment. I see it every day for over 35 years. But those emotions must be kept under control during this process. Whether you agree or respect what these attorneys or other people are saying, you will respect this court or you will leave. Is that understood by all? The next outburst, one of two things will be happening. The person that makes the outburst will be taken from this courtroom, or I will hold them in contempt of court. Doesn't matter who you are. Does anyone have an issue with that? Anyone? And respect this process, and respect the right of both sides to be heard. Go ahead, Ms. Stahli.
As well as reckless manslaughter, Your Honor. In fact, there aren't any members of law enforcement, and I understand members of the jury who are not in agreement with that.
Hold on a second. What members of law enforcement have told you that?
I've spoken to a variety of members of law enforcement, Your Honor.
Ms. Connolly, I have great respect for you as an advocate and as a trial lawyer. But when you make comments like that in a public proceeding,
Mr. Conrad chose not to charge Ms. Wilford. He chose not to exercise his discretion in that regard. And I would ask the court to exercise its discretion to consider granting Mr. Stahli some consideration and some mercy. I would like very much at this point to read the statement if I may, Your Honor. I would like first to offer my...
get your client to stand on his feet. If I'm going to permit that, he's going to at least stand.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would first like to offer my sincere condolences to Caitlin and Lewis. I wish I knew what to say or what to do that will make this situation less painful. The truth is nothing will change the feelings of sorrow and loss we all have. My heart has been broken since August 5th, 2014. Every day I am left with the memories of Mason's hugs, smiles, kisses, and his silly faces. Every day I rehear the words, Mason was found unresponsive. They could not bring him back. Every day I think of how these things could have been different if he received medical care as I wanted him to. I would still be reading stories, playing with cars, and watching cartoons with him. I may not have known Mason and Jackson their whole lives, but I love them as if I had. Life has forever changed, and my heart goes out to the families and friends and all those who loved Mason. Knowing that Mason is with God gives me some small comfort. However, the loss we feel on earth at this moment hurts deeply. To Mason and everyone who knew and loved him, you will always be in my prayers. Your Honor, I would just finally submit to the court that the sensational nature of the charges, the sensational nature of the crime itself, and the sensational nature of the photographs that were displayed before the jury virtually ensured a guilty verdict. There was no room for compromise, as the court is aware, and as I have previously stated, I submit to the court that not everyone who was responsible for Mason's death was presented before the court. On the basis of all of those grounds, on the basis of Mr. Stahli's extreme remorse, I ask the court to use its discretion to grant some leniency to Mr. Stahli and not impose the maximum sentence.
Does he wish to demonstrate the sincerity of his remorse himself?
Your Honor, I have spent a great deal of time with Mr. Stahli, as the court is aware. We have gone over this at great length. Mr. Stahli's ability to articulate himself is...
He cannot say the two words, I'm sorry. He has difficulty articulating two words.
No, Your Honor, I don't believe that he does, but that is what I'm here for. And I believe that I am able to effectively articulate on his behalf.
Well, respectfully, Ms. Connolly, I don't know. Because as you know, I must judge whether or not remorse is sincere or disingenuous. And the only way that I can judge that is to hear it from the person. Because you know perfectly well that then that person will be subjected to some question by this court. And I think it's fair to say that could be what Mr. Stahli doesn't wish to experience.
Your Honor, I don't know any defendant that stands before Your Honor that wishes to experience that. That being said, Mr. Stahli...
Well, I have seen some that candidly appreciate the opportunity to demonstrate legitimate, sincere remorse and suffer the question by this court. And suffer it well. This man is demonstrating purportedly sorrow for the death of a 2-year-old. I'd like to hear it from him. He has a right not to make a statement. He has a right to make a statement.
I understand that, Your Honor. We have discussed this at great length. And I am comfortable with my expression of his remorse.
Mr. Stahli, you do not wish to make any statement to this court or statement? That's a good answer. Anything else, Ms. Conlon?
No. Respectfully, we are going to rely on the court's discretion. I know that you want to minister justice as you see fit. I believe that there were a lot of issues that were presented before the court that demonstrate that there will never be perfect justice here.
Issues that are outside of this court's power, jurisdiction, and authority, I agree. What I have before me today is Mr. Stahli. Nothing more.
That's correct, Your Honor. And frankly, we respectfully submit to you that that in and of itself is a great miscarriage of justice.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor. Thank you for your time.
Stahli, anything you'd like to say before I close sentence? Mr. Costa. Well, let me first say that Stahli, that I sat and listened carefully to each and every word given by witnesses who took this stand. I looked at each and every exhibit. I looked at the faces of the jurors as they studied the evidence. And I watched you too during this entire trial. I have to admit that at first, looking at you, I didn't see a child murderer. That opinion changed rather quickly. The investigation by the state police in this matter, and especially investigator Mario Restivo, was some of the best I've seen in my entire career. The proof of your guilt was overwhelming. Not just proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but in this court's opinion, proof beyond all doubt. You know that. My opinion also changed about your appearance when I saw what I thought was some of the most damning proof in this case, which was your video of you cashing that check. I believe it was in the media. That was the real Kenneth Stahli. A man who had drugs woven into the fabric of your very existence. A man that would do anything for his fix. Over the course of 10 days, Stahli, you ruthlessly, savagely beat Mason DeCosmo to death. And I believe I've seen it all. But for a human being to commit such brutality to an adult would be shocking. To do this to an innocent child is loathsome. Yet how this assault, this murder of a defenseless child could have been permitted by others is beyond this court's comprehension. But I don't make the decisions of who appears in front of me. Others do. What's significant and important to this court today, Stahli, is you're here before me. And you're here before me today for judgment. Others will be judged by an authority much higher than this court. You, however, have the unfortunate experience of being sentenced by me today. You know you received a fair trial. This court and its staff worked diligently to ensure that all of your rights were protected. And that the district attorney's burden and his feet were held to the fire. But I get to judge you today. And normally, it's not an experience that I would wish upon my worst enemy to sentence another human being. But in this case, Stahli, you are deserving of no consideration. You are deserving of no sympathy. You are deserving of no mercy. And for you to attempt to deflect your heinous, horrible conduct by pointing at others only further aggravates your situation. You will receive no mercy, no consideration, no sympathy from this court. You will receive justice. So, Stahli, as a result of your conviction to murder in the second degree, I am sentencing you to spend the remainder of your natural life in 8x12 cell. You will remain quiet, or you will be out of the courtroom. And I am not anything but serious about it. The law, unfortunately, Stahli, makes me also impose a minimum sentence of 25 years. That's the most I can give you. 25 years to life. And I join and echo the feelings of Ms. Langdon. I had the first death penalty case in New York State. For a year and a quarter, a night did not go by that I could not sleep through the night thinking that I would be intimately involved in taking the life of another human being. If the death penalty were on the books today, Mr. Stahli, I wouldn't hesitate to impose it for your acts. I pray that in some small way, this sentence brings justice to that 2-year-old boy. And I also place on the record that it is this court's unwavering opinion that you shall spend every year, every day, every minute of your life in 8x12 cell. The court is also issuing orders of protection in the name of Michelle Langdon, Louis DeCosmo, Jason DeCosmo, Caitlin Wolford. From today, sir, until June 4th of the year 2065, you shall have no contact, no communication whatsoever with these individuals. That means, Stahli, that you shall not call them on the phone. Do you understand that? You shall not write them. Do you understand that? You shall not contact them electronically. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
No email, no Facebook, no Twitter, no texting, no instant messaging. Nothing. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
You understand that if for some bizarre reason they reach out to you, or someone that says they represent them reach out to you and invite you to contact them, if you then do it, you're still violating my word of protection. Do you understand that? And I plan on being here, sir, until I'm dead. Do you understand that?
Yes.
This is my word of protection. The only one that can change it is me. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Finally, sir, if you cause some other person, anyone, to contact them in any fashion on your behalf, you're violating this order of protection. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have any questions about this? Now, you may think that violating an order of protection is a joke because it's only a Class B felony, and you're spending the rest of your life in jail. Well, there are also fines that go along with those Class E felonies, and if I impose them, I will order that money be taken from your inmate account. And by the time I'm done, sir, you probably will not be able to afford a toothbrush. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Any questions about that? Are your mental issues causing you any difficulty understanding this? The court is also imposing the maximum fine permitted by law. There are Magistrate court surcharges of $300, crime victims fee of $25, and the DNA data bank fee of $50. Is your client prepared to pay any fines, surcharges, or fees?
Very well.
I'm wondering they be taken from his inmate account. They may already have his DNA. It'll be up to the Department of Corrections whether or not they take it. I'm ordering $50 DNA data. It's up to the Department of Corrections to collect the fee, take the DNA. Anything else? Dennis from the